That's today, June 10th, 2022, and I'd like to call the Orleans Industrial Development Agency Board meeting to order. Roll call, Diane.
Okay, so everybody's here but Carol D'Agostino and Ed Organic.
Okay. Approval, we need a motion to approve the previous board minutes of May 13th. So Skip, second by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Pardon me?
Do we get Hendel's vote too? Paul?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Thank you, Paul.
Sorry to exclude you there,
5
Paul.
second delay.
We'll move to the financial report.
Great. So where we stand right now, cash on hand, IDA account has $45,006.58. Our pilot account's at 0. The revolving loan funds is at $23,169.70. The Land Rest Corporation's at $104,963.71, and then the gain account with Land Rest Corporation's at $148,625.04. Going through financial statements, revenues, we had 0 revenues this month come in.
Good.
0 revenues come in for the month of May. Our liabilities have changed due to the fact that we've had 3 pilot programs come off the books. West New York Energy came off their original pilot came off the books. Obviously, they have a second pilot after that. The first pilot came off the books from the first project they did with us. Lakeside Fruit and what's the Runners all are coming off the books. That's why you see the big change in the liability section. This year it's at current liability is $797,462, and last year it's at $1.2 million. So that's the big change there on the liabilities.
Okay, now which page are you on here? So
I am on the second page of balance sheet previous year comparison. Page 2, which is right there. So I'm looking right here at the 7 change in current liabilities.
it's 450. Okay, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's with those 3 pilots coming off. So then total expenses for the month, we kept them pretty minimal, down to $34,977. So overall, continuing to monitor cash and expenditures and making sure we're making smart moves with what we're doing financially moving forward. As we look onto the revolving loan funds, they had an additional contribution of $19.69. This goes back to the Medina Hospitality payments on that. But look at the balance sheet for revolving loan funds. It's in good shape. So, and that's the financials for COIDA. Any questions on that?
My only question is the outlook,
Future out
2-3 months out.
2-3 months out. So met with the county legislators yesterday to talk about some funding opportunities we're going to look at. Preliminary items from who those were there to go ahead and move forward to scheduling meetings with the entire legislative committee on July 27th to go through my proposal of funding for the operations costs as well as funding for the handful of grants that we're applying for. So after that, we'll know that same day approval on the resolution, potentially that evening to move forward with that. And at that point, that check would be potentially cut on August 1st for the funding for operational expenses. That would be what we were pacing at for the 142,000 that we're looking for a deficit on cash on hand for covering estimate for the year. So July 27th, when I meet with all of you, because I'll go through my,
Yeah, I
I'll have
don't,
more paper, more of a presentation. I had a slimmed down one, but I'll have a more elaborate one discussing more grants, more breakdown, bullet points on each of them for everybody to look through, and then obviously more dialogue with the entire website committee at that point.
I guess my question is, over the next 3 months, are we going to be able to get by on our own?
Yes.
accord
Yes,
Without that money?
without that money, good question. So Brunner, the expected closing date on the land sale is expected for June 20th currently. Their legal has agreed to that. Evan's working on that deal with from her standpoint. So that would be 60,000 in that deal. We get our quarterly county support of 47,500 coming in middle of July. So we'll have enough, and if we can get Primark and Medina Hospitality to continue to make progress here, we could be looking at that coming, next few months too. That's 105,000. So granted, everyone has to be on board with that. That's a whole other conversation with that, but the fact that, we've got some dialogue happening, that's a good thing, but again, you still want to be cautious that that's happening moving forward. And then obviously from a land rest corporation standpoint, some of the engineering stuff that we have gone through land trust corporation for that to cover some of the expenses. The expectation is for Zambistro's loan to be going through at some point here in the next month or so. So we'll have to start making payments back on that. That's 39,000. There hasn't been any indication that they won't start paying right away, which the expectation is they will start repaying right away. So that'll be money coming in from land rest, OCR grant, and then the same thing with Velocity. Velocity has a 3-month deferral permit, I should say, on their loan. That's 254,000. So that's going to be, it's just taking time. Just taking time.
So
But
short answer is we should be okay.
we should be okay. As of this meeting, we're okay.
Just want to make sure I understand.
Yes, that's a great question.
Any other comments? No? Okay, with that, look for a motion to approve financial report. John, seconded by Skip. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved.
Amen.
Thank you. You still have a booming voice even when you're far away. Business development, Gabriel.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank John. John spent last Friday with me going around Medina, looking at what's going on there. And I'll when we finish, I really want you to kind of speak to what you saw. And I still want, we're doing this when anybody has the time to do it. So here's the current remarks. CNC, which is an engineering and technical training center located on East Center Street in Medina. They contacted me. They have an increase in their contracts. They have a footprint. They have space. And after some conversations with the owner, John Napa, and his one of his executive teams, I said, I think you need to rethink how you're going to do an expansion. So I gave him 2 engineering firms. The engineering firms are going to be working with them. And I said, perhaps you should also think in terms of leaving this footprint and moving over to a spot in the Medina Business Park. So BME is coming out, working with them on their own footprint. And he has already invested, I'll use the word significantly, in trying to restore that warehouse by the railroad that he owns, only to find that he really did not have the right advisors. And doing anything else on that site is challenging. I also have to realize that he deals in the Western New York Buffalo market quite a bit. And there's certainly facilities in the Buffalo area that are trying to attract him. So
Does
I'm
he
just,
live around here? Or-
he might live in Middleport. He used to live in Orleans County. He is a person that knows what he's doing. He just got caught in the project and he's going to be self-financed. So I think we've got some potential here, no matter what he does, to keep him here and to have perhaps do something that is a little more creative. So I'm just going to kind of pass this around, just take a quick look at it, give you an idea, because this is going to move fast if it moves.
What about like Burns and Manic or the pickle factory, options for him?
He wants to own. He would not be anybody who's going to work well with some of the,
Strong personalities.
with other individuals. Can I put it that way? But we took the parcel next to the hotel, and he's very interested in that parcel. We took the parcel next to the hotel, took what his requirements are, 50 spaces, the building. So that's going to be one of the considerations. I won't spend a lot of time on it now, but BME is coming out in the next couple of weeks, looking at his site again. I felt we had to move ahead. I don't want this to get out into there's obviously some competitive factors here, but the board should kind of take a look at this and get an idea of what we might be coming back to talk to you about. And that would mean a road extension. It might mean some other things. So I'll just leave that with you now. Stockham Lumber. There's been a lot of conversation over the months.
One quick
Oh, sure.
question. Is he happy in Medina overall?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, he's happy in Medina. His contracts are with General Motors. His contracts are with Ford. A lot of his contracts and medical. So they are oriented out of the area, but he's very cramped in that footprint. And it may not be feasible. He's got extra space there, but it might not be feasible financially for him to expand there. And it took him a while to get to that. That's still a consideration, but he does like Medina, no question. No question about that. But I also, we needed to step ahead quickly on this. And I have to thank BME for getting this to us at 7 o'clock last night.
Rebecca was very quick.
Yes, she was.
Quick turnaround, yeah.
Yes, she was. So they will be in town and they're going to be evaluating both. Stockham Lumber. There's been a lot of conversation in the last few months about the rail spur, what's going to happen there. And there was a level of questions on the part of the owner of Stockham, Dan Clips. So I had a quick opportunity last week to get Stockham together with GBT Rail and Erdman Anthony, who originally wrote the grant for the rail yard Jim Whipple did that while he was here on Stockham's behalf. So we got everybody together. And Stockham now belongs to a business consortium, and he's going to go out there and he's going to see, is it practical to have this rail yard? It would be a team track, meaning that as Erdman Anthony, that's the way it was applied for. It would be a public-private relationship. And I said, well, who is the public-private relationship? He said, conceivably, the IDA could take an interest in this, could take an easement on the property, and to make it a rail yard and open a team track.
In Holland?
In Holland, at Stockham Lumber. So Stockham Lumber, first of all, has to reevaluate whether this is feasible for them to even do this. Secondly, I said, well, your attorney can then discuss with our attorney kind of some different scenarios. He was a bit taken back by that. But I said, you shouldn't be. We want to support this if it's justified. And I know there's a lot of, there's been a lot of conversation beforehand, but with everybody together, GBT Rail as well, everybody heard the same thing. And I have notes that he has, that Dan Clips has confirmed. So the cost to that would be between $150,000 to $180,000 for Stockholm. And not for the whole for to do this. 20% of it would be on Stockholm. So he hasn't planned for this. This isn't going to happen probably for 18 to 24 months.
Mhm.
So he's now thinking about this. How are we going to do this? So certainly his land is he certainly felt when he did this that he had reason to do it. Everything has changed. And his business model has changed. He's grown it in other ways. GBT Rail said, all right, I'm here and I have a transload facility in Genesee County in Batavia. Why don't you use that? And Dan Clip says, that doesn't work for me. I'm not going to add more distance and more traffic. So we got that. So that's now where it should be, in the owner's hands. He's starting his due diligence. He's starting to see whether he can have other supporters. And then I said to him, if you think you're going to, then we will go to 2 other manufacturers in the area to see if they can use this facility along with you. And they would, of course, be compensated. So that's some missing pieces that I know some board members have been asking about. So that's where that stands. Any questions on it? Okay. While I was in Holly, I looked at the business park, and earlier I had some, there were some spots, many spots there that needed attention, and I met with both the mayor of Holly and the supervisor of Murray. Somebody has done some work. It looks much better. The park has been, the appearance of it overall has been tidied up. There are certainly other areas that need some attention, but I have to say that it's been done. And I guess visits help. So, okay. Medina Business Park. John and I did that tour last week, and we got up on Sanderson Road, and I think you said you were driving by. Sanderson Road did not look very good. So I called the town of Shelby. They got right on it.
So the mowing.
Yes, they got right on it, and it's now on Shelby's regular to-do list. And I'm also going to talk with Michael yesterday. I'm also going to ask them if they will do the mowing around the 2 signs in the Medina Business Park, which then eliminates an expense that we have that I think we can eliminate. So that'll be my next call. And I'm sure that Dale or one of the other municipalities.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do it.
And Dale is going to go to the county because he wants to use some kind of a piece of equipment. And they're always good about that because he wants to remove some of the other trees. So we got that straightened out. I'm on the Job Corps Community Relations Committee. They had their, we had their meeting by Zoom. And they're starting to bring students back on campus. We really don't have a barometer, but the Job Corps has to be a tremendous driver of economic impact when it's operating in Orleans County, and particularly in the Western Corridor. After that meeting, it occurred to me that we needed to, some of the people that have been hired for some of our businesses need more life training, should I say. I think that there's a niche here for the Job Corps to assist because workforce development cannot in some of these cases. So I went to the center director. We're going to start doing some introductions. I think he can help the hotel. I think that they can also offer him some employment, part-time employment for some of the students. He seemed to be very, Dennis asked him, he seemed to be very responsive to that. So we got that moving.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So there haven't been students out there for a while?
There has, story, but Department of Labor shut down during COVID. Then as they opened, they would only allow you to bring in students depending on the community. Can't think what it's called, but the community, the rate of COVID in the community. There's a term for it. I can't think what it is. And if it rises too high, they stop bringing in the students. Then they changed all the capacity so they could distance everybody. So that took you from the upwards of 300, I think it was like 275 that they could hold, down to 100 something. Every student received some type of a tablet. So a lot of their classes are online and they could attend some of their classes virtually. Some of the hands-on classes you can't. So the students on site, I think it got as low as 20 or 30 at one point. Now they're up towards 100 right now, I believe. But there's probably a $7 or $8 million annual operating budget. That doesn't count any rehab or construction budget. So there should be a pretty strong impact on the community. I mean, way back when we were doing the hotel study, my office was up there and I went into human resources and said, I think we're going to get a hotel in the area. Can you tell me about how many room nights a year we do? I'm thinking ballpark 100. Oh, she says you could double or triple that. So I just connected you with them and they gave you the numbers, but I think there's an impact that we don't all realize it's there.
It's kind of hidden away.
Absolutely.
Okay. And if I hear back from them, I'm going to keep you in the loop.
Okay.
Because I think it, will help getting them. I want them to tour the site, tour the hotel, and I think they certainly can. I think it can be beneficial.
On that same vein, so you guys know, as a congressman was touring businesses that were struggling to hire employees. He was at one employer that needed 100 welders, like immediately. And he said, "Can you have welders?" And I said, "Well, we do in Burlington. We don't here, but." And I connected him with those folks. And he called and said, "What if I got you enough money to add a welding trade? Could you do that for us?" Oh, yeah, we did. So I'm telling you that because I think as you see a need,
Yes.
if we involve the federal folks, they'll ramp it up because their goal is to train the students to put it to work. And if you've got the work site, I think there's monies that could be coordinated and we wouldn't have to touch anything of our own. We just need to show them and prove the need.
I've been on this board for 10 years on and off, if not more. I have seen a level of an in-depth level of management and an in-depth level of resources that that have been strained before. I'm just seeing some very, very positive things.
That's good to hear.
And I think that's going to be beneficial all the way around. So our West Orchard Street Medina site development. The group, that ownership group, got back to us and they have worked with BME on the wetland delineation. And BME is waiting for the DEC to come out and say, BME, you did the right thing. It's only X number of acres. Their next step will be to sit with the village board and offer up some ideas about site development. So we'll see where that goes. I think that they should limit what they think they can do at that site. Because there's just some things that they need to consider, but that's what's going on. It'll be their next move. And I think that's, and we told the mayor that he can expect that call. So that's a good thing.
Do they have bur oak trees?
Pardon me?
Do they have bur oak trees? For their site,
They have one.
the bur trees for their development?
Listen, you're probably gonna get the worst call you've ever gotten. I mean, I know you've gotten a few. That's coming this week, so you better watch it. The bird trees.
Caller ID now.
Yes.
Goodbye.
It should be Berberon. So anyway, take form. Bill Hungerford contacted me, as did Darren Campbell, their financial officer. Take form is looking at a project in-house. It will not be an expansion. They're just getting, it's going to be significant for them. They're just getting their figures around it. And he said, can you get me any incentives? I said, of course we can. They have to define the scope, but that is going to be another, at least an OCR, and OCR loves them. It'll be their third one, as well as some other incentives. So that is going to morph over the next few months, dependent upon when they can give us the information. But I want everybody to be aware of that, because I know that there's a, they always hit a sweet spot.
I spoke with Bill about that. It's an internal software program, about $900 to $1 million. They're looking to, will help the internal process be more efficient. So
Well, there's certainly an abundance of opportunity that we have. They've used power proceeds money. They're the only ones that have ever received power proceeds money in the area, and OCR and ESD. So we'll put a good package together for them.
yeah, they're a class act. Do what
They are.
say.
And they do their presentation and they do the materials very well. So I would expect that that's going to move along, and of course the village would sponsor what it needs to sponsor.
So, well, let's say it was $1 million, we get 20% of that back on the grant, or how would that work?
Well, it depends if they do a OCR. The OCR will come up with what they'll fund them for, and what it'll be half loan, half grant, which has been in the past. But I definitely told them that we needed to put OCR in their package. But I haven't seen the scope yet. I haven't seen all the figures. I haven't seen any figures. So yes, half of that loan grant, half of that will come back to the IDA at some point.
And I think the thing that we realized here recently working with Velocity, and we didn't realize before with OCR, is there's an open interpretation for working capital to be part of these OCR grants, which we weren't under the impression that was a possibility, but with working with Velocity, that came up in conversation as it is part of it, and it does fall into this category. You can utilize working capital money as part of this grant, so which is great. It gives us more opportunity to have those type of conversations with clients. Well, I need this, this, and this, and X amount of working capital, which is a great conversation piece, because we can now lump that into the conversation too.
And if Take Form does what they've done in the past, they don't take the full length of time on the loan. They pay it back. Quickly. So these are all hypotheticals right now, but we are streamlining our OCR process
Yes.
with some angst, but we're getting it. But we're getting it done. Hilton Spencerport Express. Hilton Spencerport Express is working on with two of our projects. Hilton Spencerport is they do warehousing for WNA in the Holly Business Park. They are now negotiating with WNA for warehouses. They do, well, years ago it was precision packaging. And they do packaging for takeouts. And a WNA has been there in a relationship with them for years. They did one warehouse for them. There's now consideration of another 50,000 to 60,000 square foot warehouse. They are negotiating now on the rate. The warehouse would likely be built in the town of Kendall on their own property. The lease negotiations are going on right now. So WNA is constrained until they can get this warehousing. And I believe that Hilton Spencerport, I've talked with them several times. I think that this is moving in the right direction. And we will keep you apprised on that. But it also then frees up space at WNA so they can increase their production, which will be a great boon to us. And I was by there on Sunday. WNA was operating on Sunday. They had work crews in there, so we'll see how that goes. So Hilton Spencerport Express is also working with Beaumont. We did a conference call with Beaumont, Hilton Spencerport, and the idea is that Beaumont needs a transport. They now have, instead of trying to bring all their product in from Canada to the US, they've also gone to several states that are within 8 or 10 hours. And they're establishing relationships for the product that they need and the raw materials they need for Albion and the raw materials they need in order to have a pipeline to start Medina. As of yesterday, Beaumont had not provided all the information that they needed to Hilton, so Hilton will quote. We might luck out here. He might be able to Bo was very interested in if we can get some kind of transportation going that would help him. I think this is going to help his US operations. Nobody's interested. I haven't got anybody that's going to go into Canada, but he's looking at other sources. Any questions on that one? Okay. Pride Pack. Pride Pack was looking for a 10,000 square foot facility. We think we found a 10,000 square foot facility to do a manufacturing project. They got back to me and said, we don't like it. I said, okay. So what is the next steps? So they're looking at a possible build on to their facility in Medina. So what would they be making? They're making the styrofoam packaging that WNA makes. They're finding that their source of this product, and they need it, is unreliable. So they may very well be going into that. And we'll just see how, they're.
Do they have land or would they be buying more?
They do have land, however, they may need more. Also, as you can see when you drive by, they are, a lot of their trucks are on the road, the private road, not the private road, but the village road into the park. So there's a congestion there. It's causing an issue. So I think they know that if they do any kind of an expansion, that and there's going to be some other things that need to be, other conversations that need to happen with the village. Aaron Bauer and Earth Developers. Michael sourced a terrific new build in Niagara County that we thought would be pretty much what Aaron Bauer would like in Holland. So we sent it to him and he was euphoric over it. He said, this is exactly, I was looking for something. And it's a terrific looking facility. Aaron is still taking time. He still needs more time. And But I just want you to know that we're keeping that contact going.
It's gonna be a nice, if it's similar to that, it's a very nice, well received concept. Coloring and aesthetically pleasing for construction style business. So I mean, it's just coincidental. It's a heavy diesel contractor building on Carmen Road in Middleport, and it's got huge big bay doors for the equipment to roll in and work on, and similar to what he wants to do. He wants the big bay doors and the high ceilings to have his equipment inside to work on. It's a beautiful setup. So
He was thrilled, and he is very, and I think he has you can tell, he's very discerning in his thought and in his plans. So, I mean, John, do you want to add to any of this? You looked at everything.
There's a lot of opportunity out there. It really is amazing. I didn't realize all the properties that we have access to us, you know, there's just opportunity, I guess is the easiest way to say it. It's exciting actually to see what we've got, what we could do. Start putting people together with it. You know.
Throw in water and throw in power. It's pretty compelling story.
Any questions? I think I went through that rather quickly, but I also know everybody's time. Be glad to answer any questions or any more.
I'm good.
Paul, good.
I'm all good. Thank you, Gabe, as always, for the update.
Okay. So
All
that's,
right, so thank you. Project update.
So Velocity is making headway with obviously their loan grant. They started the first draw. They're taking on the loan portion of the OCR grant, and then soon be working on the back half of the grant portion. So, and Kevin and his team's working on the loan documents with Bob to get that underway and moving forward on that. So making progress, and similar with Zambistros, we're waiting on a couple of things from them. And then we'll have our loan documents set up with them and signed on their end as well. So, but they've already requested their first draw too. And Diane has received that, correct, Diane?
Yep.
So, we have dispersed that already, correct? We cut them a check?
No.
No, not yet.
No, we cut check for 8 Sycamore. That's all set. but not-
Gotcha, okay.
Not the year.
Not their
Not the
actual,
draw,
not
no.
their portion.
No.
Okay. So that will be happening soon. Heritage Wind, they're still working on their end with the engineers to get the permitting moving along, more progress on that. So, you know, we're still looking at, you know, Q1, Q2 next year as an estimated date right now. And so there has been nothing else to sort of say that it won't happen, but yet it's still a process with permitting to get that completed on the wind project.
Is that because a couple sites were rejected?
There were 6 sites that U.S. Fish and Wildlife had issues with. And when OLRC went through the approval for the permits, they agreed with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and agreed you need to find alternate locations or shift your location slightly to accommodate this agency and what the standards should be. So they're working diligently. Obviously, you know, everything takes time, and especially when it comes to engineering. But as far as of right now, they're still committed to the CapEx to do the project. So, Falls Railroad Culvert Bridge replacement. This is one of the NBRC grants that Jim had set up a few years back. This is with Urban Anthony. They have the bids out now for doing the project on the Falls Railroad in between Middleport and Holly. This is separate from the rail spurs. This is actually just the culverts, and working to do some of the replacements for the actual bridges on the railroad too. So he sent me the designs earlier this week. of what they're having bid out. So that should be coming in, and actually that should be, he's estimating to be done this year, which will be good. So the Valley project will be done, and then we can start looking at other grants with NBRC again for next year, what we want to focus on, who we want to partner with potentially for either rail, road, whatever that might be with NBRC, and see what kind of avenue we want to go with that. So that was great to hear that they're estimating to have that done, because they got held up quite a bit with COVID on this project. So that was good to hear. The Hemlock Ridge Solar, we're still moving along slowly. I know Barry's having a public hearing on their end coming up regarding this project. So we'll see what comes of that and what kind of responses come at that public hearing, but more to come down the road. And that's it for project updates that I actually have. So
Unless there's some questions or comments, we will move on to facility and sites.
yeah, so we had Mr. Whipple out with us this week, looking in the Medina Business Park at a couple locations for our EV charging stations. And we've identified a couple spots, and I think, as we talk out loud and walk through things and look at proximity to things, we're throwing together options, couple options for personal vehicles charging stations, and then a separate area proposed for the next wave of next gen trucks, commercial vehicles that are out there that are coming online as well. So we've identified a couple areas. Now we're working through how do we navigate that from a zoning engineering standpoint, and what does that look like? This ties in with the grant with National Grid, where they are essentially providing a lot of the costs, and we're marginally for our EV portion, it's very minimal. So, which is great. We can enhance the park, make it attractive for companies who have employees or executives that have EV vehicles. I mean, space, I think all the major brands have their own take on EV now for personal vehicles. And then it's just, I think I've seen a few models, like UPS has a few models out there with their EV vehicles as well. So I think it's a matter of staying on top of that.
So these are there for the purpose of servicing people that are on our facility.
On our
Hotel,
facility,
It's not
and
for public use per se, right?
public, yes and no. And we're kind of talking out loud because there's a revenue sharing, there's a revenue component to that for every, don't have it in front of me, but there's like a $3 to $1 figure of how it's spent and what's coming back. So there's an opportunity to make back what we're putting into it. So, which is great. So while we're doing this, it's going to then pay us back down the road to do it. Or if we work with other developers that say, hey, I'll give you an example, Lenoken wants to put one in at their winery. And that would be self-funded by them. But it's an opportunity for them to say, hey, if you want to go on the wine trail, we've got an EV charging station for your vehicle. I'm sure there's apps out there now where you can say, well, where's the closest EV charging station if I'm traveling from east to west or west to east, and that's a pit stop for them. And then that will be a revenue stream for them down the road.
What about municipalities? Do they have to do that on their own, or
Well, yes.
we don't get involved with that?
We can help guide them, and Mindful Media has been very good about, and Mindful Media has approached Medina. I believe Medina is talking about putting one or two in. Municipality would pay their portion, but Dina would work with them, and obviously there's a fee associated with the Mindful Media's services to be able to do that. But it's coming. It's a matter of time before, there's a lot more EV vehicles out there. We want to make sure the business parks at the forefront, we have it there.
At least the starting point of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can always add to it.
The charging mechanism that we're looking at in the park would probably be the only one of that. Am I correct? Am I recalling correctly? Whatever's proposed at the hotel site is there's not another one like it in the county. It would be the one that would be, it takes an hour, maybe, the charging, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we don't have that available to anybody. And you're also going to look at another site over on off Marcia Tui
Tui.
Way that we're talking about that could do trucking, could do the trucks.
Mhm.
So, but, you know, we're coming to that, and we really need to have something somewhere
Absolutely.
that makes that you can get revenue, obviously.
Mhm.
We'll see.
To get the revenue, would it be like a parking meter?
Yeah.
Pretty much,
Mhm. Yep, just like a parking meter.
just throw in a couple quarters and you're good for 20 minutes of charge or
credit
whatever.
card.
Credit card.
Or whatever, right,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
same concept.
Mhm.
and the hotel is certainly willing, they didn't have to do this on their own, they were willing to split the revenue with us, or with the village, or with whomever. We just haven't found the site, we just have to determine if there's a site over there. If they want to do it on their own, that's one thing, but he has certainly been offering, he said, look at, I don't have, I'll share
Just
this.
an extra
revenue.
service for their guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
And
Absolutely.
it won't be for large trucks, just what they're,
Personal vehicles.
but the other side could be, the other area in the park could be something that accommodates a larger vehicle and might have to turn around. But we're gonna look at that, I guess, this week. It's a whole new world.
Mhm. Really is. That's the only other update on park that I have. Yes, I already talked about.
This has been a busy month.
We'll move on to the map and LDC report. Diane?
Okay, so 11 of the class participants are graduating Tuesday. So we're having it at the Gallons Bar and Grill in Hamlin. So if anybody wants to join the graduation, let me know. It's at 6 o'clock. All right.
Something going.
And here's all the participants in the class. The revolving loan fund account, we have 9,318.13 in the HUD unrestricted, and the money market account, I have 84,923.30. We submitted an application for the next grant, which is $300,000. And I have 13 people interested in the grant. So
Okay, so after the graduation this week, is there another session scheduled?
September. Yep. Sometime in September, we'll figure that out, and yeah, again, I have about 10 people interested in the next class, so, yeah.
Dan, thank you for coming in on a non-work day.
Oh.
So did you give the pilot report?
I am now, it's all current.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Kevin, legal?
Just a quick update. There are 4 bills that have been passed by the Assembly and it's the Senate that are on the governor's desk that could potentially, if enacted, would impact IDIs. Most of them involve how to manage pilots. We are tracking those bills. So when they hit, we'll certainly react to them. Just again, to give you a sense of what these bills are, one of them would require IDAs to report to the taxing jurisdictions within 2 years of when a pilot will end. And that's a timing issue. It's like an advance notification requirement. There's another bill out there that would require the IDA to deliver a copy of a resolution that approves a project by certified mail to the school board and the school superintendent of that effective tax and for that project. And then there's another one that would require businesses that make pilot payments to notify local taxing jurisdictions of any intent to file for a change in assessment. So a lot of those are driven at the pilot process. And we've got our, we're watching it. Those bills have been transmitted. I think the governor has 30 days to act on them. So we'll know more in the next 30 to 45 days.
So none of them sound that significant.
It's just more stuff to do.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's more stuff that has to be added into
More layers.
more layers of compliance. Yes.
Kevin, where are you with wasn't there a bill to remove elected officials?
Yeah. So I can give you an update on that too. That's a good question, Skip. That bill did not get passed by the assembly. So it's sitting. It passed one house, didn't pass the other house. So
That's the first thing the assembly's going to do.
yeah, I don't know. Certainly with respect to that issue, yeah, it looks like it's sitting at this point. So yeah, there's the update on that.
Unless there's any other questions or comments, we'll move on to marketing. Michael?
Yeah, so a lot of time with Mindful Media and myself, we've been focusing on the grants that are out there and really trying to reel in what makes sense for us and how do we obtain them and what that means and timing. By from application date to notice date to when we need to implement everything by. So that's been a lot of May and the first part of June is getting all of our applications in. And the next phase is our national grid applications this month. We have a couple that we need to get in to start the process of applying for them. And then obviously with a lot of the grants, there is a long waiting period of being able to do anything with those grants. So we're keeping them at the forefront, keeping them top of mind, and working on that. And the couple with National Grid that we are working on, one is for the EV charging stations. That's we're going to be putting those in, pushing them through. And the other part of that is electricity is free with National Grid. There is the Canadian marketing platform where they are doing a dollar for dollar match. So we're going to start that process. Mary Grace has been very receptive as far as giving us guidance with how National Grid can support the Canadian efforts for marketing. One of their specialists that works the Canadian market would work with Mindful Media and myself to formulate a target company list of who we're going to market to and go after in the marketplace that would have potential into the US. So, which is great because the data that we have, we really don't have a lot of data that companies to target in Canada, but this would be very helpful from a National Grid standpoint. And then third layer to that is, I mentioned Skip yesterday at the legislative meeting, there's a survey census tract component with National Grid that we're targeting that will put together data on the businesses, individuals living in the county, and kind of give a snapshot of what we all know, is that we are underserved, we are a low to moderate income area in a lot of our municipalities, and Dina's been great working with Paul from National Grid out of the Buffalo office to target this program, because originally it was established for just each municipality, but Dina has worked it to encompass all of Orleans County and each municipalities within the county to target the census areas and how we can then use that data, then go after the bigger grants. And that's the thing that we're at. We don't have the data to support. Well, we go online, like for projects, sometimes we have to show as a highly distressed census tract. based off of the census data from the federal level. Well, that's what we have to work with. But this will also give greater backup to each of the municipalities in the area to show, hey, this is why Albion or Holly, this is why we need more items here in grant money to support these initiatives, because if here's the census data for the businesses in that area and the individuals living there to back that up. So that will help streamline then the bigger grants that we're going to go after to support. Hey, we're underserviced. This should be an opportunity zone. This should be, you know, such and such. So just greater impact across the board to justify it.
To build everything up.
Yep, but then it's these five, and then a lot of these 5,000 grants, dollar grants with National Grid that we're applying for. Those small ones are going to then help us achieve to get to the big ones. So.
Pretty much what they were saying yesterday.
Yep, exactly. So that's been a lot of the focus this past month and a half. So. I'll get marketing.
Okay. Is there any requirement for an executive session?
I don't know.
Any unfinished business?
Nope.
All right, new business, consider the extension of professional services of Jim Whipple. So there's a motion for that.
So last year, in July, we established Jim Whipple for a 1-year service term of up to $5,000 to support ongoing assistance with parish reporting and additional support as needed because of the transition for myself there. I'd like the board to consider extending this through the end of this year and upping that number to 10,000. Currently capped is 5,000. I'd like to extend it to end of the year and up it to 10,000 as Jim's helping us work with the EV charging. He's currently at a $3,500 level right now of what he's done up to date since July of last year. So consider that for extending and upping that cap to 10,000.
So that would end at the end of this year?
Yep.
Okay.
And then if we have more work for Jim going into next year, we'll revisit then.
So it's potentially $6,000 and some change. That
May or may not occur, but at least latitude on
Got
that.
some wiggle room.
Yep.
Jim's a great resource. I say using, obviously judiciously, whenever we need him.
Yep.
Use them. So, any discussion?
No.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion approved, okay. Okay, discuss appointment of new board members. Oh, Economic Development Agency member to the LDC.
Yes, so I want to put this in front of all of you here. Something to think about is I'm going through the bylaws for LDC, COIDA. One of the bylaws for LDC is that one person serving as an active member on the IDA board is to be appointed by the COIDA board of directors to sit on the LDC board. We need to figure out how to formulate that. Previously, it's been the board chairman has taken that on as sitting on the LDC board as well. What I've understood, and that's talking out loud about it. Now, we can talk about this further if that's what we want to continue to do, or if that's something we want to postpone to a later date, or, and I think the way I worked this out and kind of layered the LDC board composition is technically the way it's worked is Bill Lake and Fred Miller, legislators on the LDC board, and you're, Skip, the LDC board member that is just a resident of Orleans County. So, given the circumstances, in the last meeting with John taking over chair, Paul's just the board member now. putting it out there to talk out loud of what the board wants to do as far as that seat on the LDC board. So feedback is very welcome to let's talk about it, figure out, keep it the same or
Does Paul want to stay on as chair of the LPC?
Paul, this has a lot to do with you, so I want to get your opinion on this and how you want to talk about this. I'm trying to make it as transparent as possible, but respect everything on your part too.
Yeah, right. I completely understand. I could be wrong, but I thought the bylaws of the LDC were that the chairman of the Economic Development Agency automatically became a representative to the LDC and the chairman of that board as well. So the chairman of EDA was also the chairman of LDC, but I could be wrong, or I could be remembering those bylaws incorrectly.
I've got the bylaws in front of me, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because that's what I thought too, and I think that's what a lot of people thought. That's how it was. Back in October of 2020, the LDC bylaws were changed, so it was pretty recent, and that component wasn't in there that way. So, and I had Kevin look at it too, just to verify everything. So make sure that we're still ahead of the game, but not behind the 8 ball on this. So.
Well, and I certainly don't want to just dump this in John's lap, but I can tell you, having served as chairman of both of those boards, there really is some value for the chairman of EDA also to be the chairman of LDC and being on top of the work that that board does, and therefore then bringing it back to the EDA board. So I found it valuable to be chairman of both boards, but again, I don't want to just throw that on John's lap.
Okay.
No, I appreciate your input. I can certainly absorb the workload, so I just want to do what's right, but how does that impact Skip? Would you continue to be on the
He'd
board?
still be on because he's consider just a resident Orleans appointed as a member of the board. So he's
Yeah, that's back when I came.
yeah. Skip's still fine either way. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if John is willing to serve in that role, I would highly suggest that we continue the past practice and have John serve on the LDC board and also be its chairman. Like I said, I think having been in that position, there's a lot of benefit to it.
Okay, I don't have a problem with that, and I certainly respect your input and guidance, so it's fine with me.
Okay.
Does that need to be made into a formal motion?
That's what I
I was
was
just gonna say, so moved.
I'll make that motion that John Masidi be appointed to the LDC board and serve in the capacity of its chairman of that board.
So then, Paul, next LDC meeting, which is Wednesday, we'll have to get that taken care of as far as the LDC portion on the agenda. That's why I haven't sent that out, because I figured this might spur an item like that to go on there. We'll talk, have you do that, and then we'll transition simultaneously at that meeting.
Sure, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Kevin, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
So,
There's a motion.
Wednesday, the 15th at
Maybe
8:30.
second.
Yeah.
So I have to be at that meeting. Okay, let me just check something.
8:30.
Do you need a motion?
We have a
I'll
motion
make
on the
We have the
table.
motion. Yeah, I'm just looking at something. That's the 15th?
Yep.
Okay, all right. We have a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay. Pardon me?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. So I have a couple other issues for new business. One is I just want to talk about every month, Monday before the board meeting, we're going to get together, myself and the staff, to be prepared, talk about things, do some talk about what needs to be done and then have an action plan to make sure that that gets done. I'm also gonna work with Michael to clean up some of the reporting, to have like a dashboard. It's a little more informative of where we are, where we've been, trends, that type of thing. And change some of the reporting to what the next status is. So I would just want to be transparent with everybody. And if you have any questions, I encourage you to speak up, good or bad. So, and the other issue that I would like to bring up is we're two board members short, which we're getting kind of down to the bare bones here. And I talked with the staff about personnel committee. Now I know, and could you check with Jim too? I know that there was in the past a personnel committee.
Yeah, it is no longer active, John.
Okay.
The last time we restructured committees was when we brought everybody under the same umbrella, so that everybody's serving on the statutorily required committees. So that committee hasn't been active since I started working with you guys several years ago.
I guess I'm living in the past.
No, your memory's good. That's how I look at it. But I think that, yeah, if you wanted to reconstitute a committee, just, the board would take that action and appoint a committee, a personnel committee that would handle that. That's how you think,
Okay.
from a procedural standpoint, you would handle that.
Okay, so just to recap, so if we want to establish a personnel committee to investigate two new board members and come to the board with a recommendation, we have to have a motion to set up the committee.
Yeah, yes, I think that's the appropriate way. Or if you think you don't need a committee to do something like that, because it's almost like a task force type of concept, you could also just designate a couple board members who volunteer to take on that role and then report back to the board. It's a little less formal.
I think
Then a
I would
committee?
prefer that route.
Yeah, I think from a reporting standpoint, to be honest, I mean, we have real committees, you have to follow all the rules.
Okay,
And I think you can task out to two board members well within the board's purview to come back with some ideas.
are there any volunteers that would like to be on that committee? Not a committee on,
It's a
excuse
task
me, on
force.
the task force.
We'd like John Paul to be on it.
There we go, Skip.
See, I'm willing to be part of it.
Oh, good.
I'll be
Bet,
one.
John. No.
Johnny,
John and John.
My problem is I don't really, I know people in this part of the county, but I think we need to have a discussion as to what we're looking for and then target who we want. So maybe we should table it and have a discussion next month about what the criteria is. And we'll appoint a task force then and then aggressively go after people, because it could be a point where we may not have a quorum, people go on vacation.
absolutely.
And we need some new blood too. So, okay, so we'll put that on the agenda for next month to establish the task force and come up with recommendations.
John, this is Paul Hendel. A suggestion I would make too is, as you said, you are well versed in individuals on the western end of the county. Carol DiAugustino is well versed on the eastern and northern part of the county, and she might be a great resource for this task force that you're talking about. Just a thought, I'm throwing it out there for what it's worth.
No, I've given that a lot of thought and I agree too. So I don't think we just have to follow what standard thinking is. I think we, kind of look at some breakthrough ideas, younger people or people from different segments of the economy, professional levels too. So there's a lot to be discussed. Okay, thank you, Paul. Any other questions or comments?
We have one more item. Oh, sorry.
No.
One more item on the list to get added today, and I'm gonna have Kevin kind of touch on it, is that the hotel and Brymark are they're working on a deal to come to an agreement on mortgage
Mhm.
potentially. And the attorney representing Brymark has asked us to look at our docs regarding a subordinate to the loan they have with us regarding the fixtures and essentially a lien on the loan. So want the board to consider this, and actually we can do this now with a motion and a second, is if Brymark with, and they've done their own holding company for the mortgage standpoint, if Brymark with Medina Holdings LLC comes to an agreement with Medina Hospitality LLC to terms of a mortgage agreement for the principal balance they're talking about. If we would so consider removing subordinate fixtures on that loan to make that possible from a financing standpoint.
That's a good explanation of what they're asking for. I did get a letter after a call from the Brymark's counsel for the request. And, you know, it's what Medina or what the agency has here is a fixture filing on the realty. Okay, we don't even have a mortgage. That's not how the loans are structured, but there's a fixture filing in place that would entitle us to priority in the event things fell apart. So this is it's a pretty standard subordination request, but it's in the context of a litigation. So the way Michael explained it is correct. It's that the agency isn't going to do anything, at least that's the suggestion here when you decide on how to approve this, shouldn't do anything with this subordination request and actually enacting it until they've resolved their stuff. So, but the critical point is that if we authorize this on a conditional basis, then we can just pull the plug, right? We can do it. So this is kind of the board acting in advance of that, but not authorizing it to happen unless that condition is taken care of. So this fixture filing wouldn't change until they get to a point where literally they're at closing saying, okay, are you guys ready to subordinate? You would say, yes, we have board approval to do that. And then we would review the subordination agreement, which they've offered to prepare, and we would be on our way on that piece.
So
It would be a motion to
So moved. Based on that explanation.
Okay. You got that, Diane?
Yes.
could you just make
You mind to recapture that? Okay, so the motion on the table is to authorize a subordination of the fixture filing for the in connection with the loan agreement with Medina Hospitality, conditioned upon there being a resolution of the pending foreclosure litigation between Brymark and Medina Hospitality.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay. Unless there's any other additional business, we need a motion to adjourn.
Well, I want to give you a little bit of an update. You made a presentation to Lynn and I and Jack yesterday,
Yes.
and we talked about it a little bit after you left.
Okay, perfect.
So I believe I put together what you want, but what we talked about, you make sure you ask for enough. I know we talked about that at the last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You also want to show an ability to repay.
Yep.
So whatever you've got laid out, be sure we're calling it right, because what we don't want to do is for either one of us to go back and have to adjust, because it makes us, both groups, look not good.
Yeah.
Like we don't know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So just be sure you do that.
Absolutely.
I know you talked about like 484.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to tell you it's 500, and at 2%, which is what your current loan is with the treasurer.
Okay.
You have 3 payments to return the money. But they want the first payment due in 18 months, not 1 year. Want to make sure
Okay.
we don't have to extend it.
No, I appreciate that.
So if you had the money in August, your first payment would be due in February of 24.
That's great. Thanks for your help. And next week I'm gonna.
Well, the ledge, I want you to know, the ledge has to pass it. That's what the
Correct,
three of
which-
us talked about.
Correct, yeah, and that's part of me going to the workshop and.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely.
Next week I'm gonna work with Michael so he can show me the math, how
Yeah,
it works.
yeah.
So,
You know, if you're available, it wouldn't hurt to bring John with you to the workshop. I think that
Okay.
just looks, it looks stronger to me.
July 27th at 2:30, I believe is the time we established.
June.
Oh, it's at July, so it's June. So we were talking about July 27th, and then potentially if everything went through from a resolution standpoint, August 1st for a, or were we misinterpreting months and days?
Call Jack and ask, but I thought you were coming to this month's meeting,
Oh, I can, absolutely, that's
which
right.
is June 20th.
Second,
June 22nd, okay. July 27th was thrown out yesterday, so it's June 22nd. Okay,
You might be right. I don't know that I've got that straight. I wrote the terms down and I want to talk to you about it this
Yes.
morning. So the meeting, whatever meeting you're at, just,
let
confirm
me
that with
know,
Jack and Lisa.
let me know which one.
Well, no, I want you to
Talk to
connect with
them.
them.
Yeah.
I don't, you
Okay.
want to be
I'll talk with
in the
them.
middle, but.
Yeah.
But I thought it was this month. And I could be wrong.
Whatever, let's do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with either.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the fourth Wednesday. It's always the fourth.
What time of the day?
The meeting's at 4:30, but they would schedule you guys in at a workshop ahead of the meeting.
correct.
So that everybody knows what's being proposed at the meeting. So at whatever time they schedule it, 2 or 2:30 or. whatever.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
Anything else?
No.
With that, make the motion to adjourn the meeting, excuse me.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion Approved, thank you. We'll move on to the,
Still here.
so we will have a roll call for the Orleans Land Restoration Corporation. Diane,
Okay, everybody's here but Carol D'Agostino and Ed Pagani.
okay. We need a motion to approve the previous board meeting.
This is Paul Hundle. I'll make that motion.
Okay. Seconded by Skip. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Financials.
Okay, so cash that came in this month, interest income came in at $782.39. From a revenue standpoint, if you're looking at the profit and loss budget performance sheet, there was grants of $27,642 that came in. That is the disbursement of the first draw from the Zambistros project. Just so you know, that's really there but not there in a way. So it's going to be going out, it came in. Yeah, no touch basically. But total other expenses were minimal. We had some marketing expenses come through $48.79, and then some professional fees of $236.50. You'll notice on our liabilities on the balance sheet changed just as similar as COIDA did with our liabilities regarding the pilots. Same thing with this. That changes liabilities will affect land rest as well. So that's part of that too. So that's what I have for land rest finance.
All right, with that, we need a motion to accept financials.
So
John, seconded by Skip. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Legal,
No report?
operations report,
No update other than what we had before.
the old business.
Nope.
New business.
No.
Any requirement for executive session? Okay, with that, then, unless there's any comments or questions, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So made by Skip, seconded by John. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.